line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Everyone's involvement. It's a big evening. I know that we have the Tampa Bay Bolts playing for the Stanley Cup tonight. It's game 6, and if they win, they'll be the Stanley Cup champs. But I can tell you, those that are live and those that are here tonight love the city of Plant City more than winning a Stanley Cup. So, amen? Amen. That's right. We sure appreciate it. We definitely wish the Bolts a lot of luck, too. I would like to say that game starts, I think, at 8 o'clock. So if you have plans on watching that, good luck. You're not going to see the beginning of that. There's no way. We have a really packed meeting here this evening. So let's go ahead and move forward. As always, we always start our meeting with prayer and then the salute to our flag. And tonight we're very, very honored to have a reverend that's been here before us, led us in prayer many times in the past, and he's doing so again tonight. And that's Reverend David Delph from the First Presbyterian Church of Plant City. And Pastor, I just wanted to let you know that a good friend of yours, John Popel, just told me that you were featured in the Gideon's magazine this month.
That's what they say.
Yeah,
it was there. Yeah.
It's too big. You can't keep that secret. That's when John Popel's in the room, right?
Pastor's supposed to be very, very humble, so that's what I'm trying to respect.
Well, I can tell you, we are very honored that of all the pastors that could be recognized in the Gideon's monthly magazine, that you're, recognized, and that's also, we're there right with you, so it's an honor for all the pastors as well. So thank you for leading us in prayer here tonight. We appreciate it.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this ability to assemble here this night. And as already been spoken, Lord, we know there's a very busy agenda here as the budget's coming together, Lord, and I know there's all the work. And I appreciate, Father, we all appreciate the work of our elected leadership and the folks who serve this town in so many wonderful ways. All the hours they give, the troubles they go through, the challenges that they face. So, Father, we pray for these souls who are behind this desk. We pray for their families. Lord, I pray for every part of this town who is here tonight to be here, because as you also said earlier, there are many other places we could be and many other things we could be doing over here. So, Lord, I thank you for all the souls that love and care for Plant City. Lord, we lift up a prayer for our country as we go through the election process, as we go through the process with the Supreme Court. Lord, we all know the turmoil and the fireworks that are sure to come. But Lord, be with our nation, with our civic leaders there as well. Bless the President, bless Congress, so that they make all good and wise decisions that are good in your sight. And again, Lord, I thank you for the town of Plant City and all of the men and women who make it work so well. Bless this assembly and bless all of our citizens here to bring glory to you. In Jesus' name, we offer this prayer. Amen.
Amen. For those virtual, we're bringing up the flag up on your screen. There we go. Attention, salute, pledge.
I allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. And Pastor, thanks so much for being here tonight. And again, congratulations on your recognition. We're very, very proud. You know. Madam Clerk, next order of business.
Presentation of a proclamation declaring the week of September 17th through the 23rd, 2020 as Constitution Week in Plant City.
So tonight we have an individual that we will recognize if she didn't have her mask on, but we know her very well. And that's Marie Wunderlich, and she's here tonight to accept this proclamation on behalf of her organization. And so at this point in time, we're going to present a proclamation. So Maria, can you please come forward? She brought a friend with her tonight, and we invited her to come up. She says, "Oh, no, 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 you're going up by yourself tonight." So, go ahead, front and center.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Okay. And how many times have you been before us to receive this? I know we've been doing this for many years.
3 or 4 times.
3 or 4 times yourself?
Absolutely.
Well, it's so good to see you again. And we appreciate the hard work that you do in our community and outside of our community.
Thank you.
And the proclamation reads, whereas September 17, 2020 marks the 233rd anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebration which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas in remembrance of the signing of the Constitution and its recognition of the Americans who strive to uphold the duties and responsibilities of citizenship, the Congress, by joint resolution of February 29, 1952, designated September 17th as Constitution Day and Citizenship Day, and by joint resolution of August 2nd, 1956, requested that the President proclaim the week beginning September 17th and ending September 23rd of each year as the Constitution Week. Whereas through a petition to Congress in 1955, the Daughters of the American Revolution were instrumental in establishing Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Rick Locke, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Plant City in the state of Florida, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week in Plant City, Florida, and ask all of our citizens to join the Daughters of the American Revolution in reaffirming the ideas the framers of the Constitution had in 1787, by diligently protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties. Maria, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'd like to present this to you. If you don't mind, I'd like to ask the commission to join me and also the city manager.
Thank you so much.
Did you like to join her or take a picture? We all have nice smiles.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to take without the mask, or you want to put our mask on?
Oh, couple masters.
Oh, you're okay. Okay.
One mask a long way.
We'll move this into the space in here. Okay. There you go.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
She did one. Which one?
And anyone at home that is doing this work
Presentation.
in your family, each and every one of you probably has a legacy in this hand down. It could be a grandfather's fishing pole, a grandmother's fishing plate. But the greatest legacy that is handed down is the Constitution of our country. And so we, the Daughters of the American Revolution, every year will ask that this legacy be remembered by all of us, because it is our liberty, it is our right, it guarantees us the fact that we can sit in this room each and every time this commission meets. So for this legacy, for this document, I thank you for the city of Plant City. Thank you very much.
So Marie, you're leaving to get home to watch that game on time?
Actually, I'm going to stand my game. We already got.
Oh, no problem. Please drive safely. Okay. Madam Clerk?
Public comments?
Electronically submitted public comments are disseminated to the commission prior to the start of tonight's meeting for review and inclusion into the meeting's official record. All those comments and letters that are sent every meeting, we definitely appreciate it. And please know that those are reviewed before we take any action in our meetings. Is there anyone physically in attendance tonight at this meeting that would like to speak on a matter excluding any legislative or quasi-judicial matters, which is scheduled to be coming before this commission at the end of this particular meeting? If tonight, if you'd like to have an opportunity to address the commission, you will have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and your address. So at this time, we're open for public comments. Would anyone like to address the commission at this time? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Madam Clerk, next item.
Consent agenda.
Before we consider the consent agenda, does any member wish to have an item removed for further consideration? Seeing none, what's the pleasure of the commission?
Move to approve consent agenda, Your Honor.
I would second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Seeing none, please place your vote. Record the vote, please, and the consent agenda is approved with a vote of 5-0. Madam Clerk.
Reports of officers, boards, and committees.
Well, good evening, City Manager.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. It's a great evening in Plant City.
It's a big night for us, isn't it?
It is. We draw one fiscal year to a close and we embark on another exciting one right around the corner. So yeah, it is.
With a lot of work in between those two bookends, right?
Yeah, quite a bit. Referring to my report very quickly, at our September 14th meeting, we discussed the idea of conducting refinancing on some outstanding SRF loans, and we outlined some of the advantages and strategies behind that. And since that meeting, per the Commission's direction, we further explored the timetable and the various steps to go forward. And we are assembling a team of vendors that are supporting us in this effort, as we discussed in that last meeting. One of the things that has come out of that discussion is that we do need to go ahead and get some specific direction. And what I'm looking for tonight is consensus of the Commission on a recommendation that I will make on how we want to proceed with this. This consensus or direction is necessary for us to know what exactly to take to the bond market. If we throw a bunch of different ideas, options at them, we're going to get kind of a scattered response. And after evaluating everything and weighing in our discussion at the September 14th meeting, we are proposing that we take the option discussed last meeting about taking the savings from this refinancing up front, having that money, which is estimated at $862,069, and being able to apply that to a particular project. We have been advised by our consultants that we need a project that is identifiable and that can be executed within a 3-year time frame. Based on all of that discussion, what we're recommending is that taking that money, we apply it to the solid waste utilities maintenance building that is proposed in the upcoming budget. That is a project that far exceeds that price tag. It would be an offset to that cost. It would leave that amount of money, the $862,000, in our accounts for other uses, and that would be on the utility side of that equation. And then that is definitely a project that we can execute within the 3-year time frame that we're being advised we need to target with this. As identified in my report, we would see an increase in the overall debt. It would go up to $23.7 million. However, our annual debt service would remain the same at almost $3.2 million, and the life of the loan would remain unchanged. So based on all of that, that's staff recommendation that we proceed with the take the money up front approach, that we apply that to the proposed solid waste utilities maintenance building, and that we proceed forward to the bond market with that as our strategy. As was discussed last time, we would bring all of that back to the city commission for further review and approval of any action that we would take in furthering that. Tonight's consensus that I'm asking for just basically gives us a particular package to take out to the bond market to then begin to find out exactly what type of interest rates we can get in this refinance.
So then, in reality, what would happen then is that if we allocated the dollars towards that particular project, those funds are already budgeted, then that would free up those dollars for other uses within that department at a later date.
Absolutely. They would go back for other projects. Yes.
Okay. Any questions for the city manager? That is a proposal?
No brainer.
No brainer?
No brainer.
I think you have to be really satisfied with the fact that we're able to take a very, I think it's about nearly a 20-year-old bond fund that's eligible for being refinanced. And with the market as it is, we can do that successfully and save the city and our community a great deal of money and apply that to a useful project that's already intended within the budget. So as you say, it's no brainer. And all we can do is come out ahead. So we're very happy for it.
Well, he needs a consensus. So on the count of three, if you agree, can we all say no brainer? 1, 2, 3.
No brainer.
That's the first. That's the first time we did that.
You
got your direction.
Thank you.
That's what we say it's a no brainer. So please go forward. So
All right.
very helpful. On the time frame, how fast do you think you'll be able to bring that back to us for consideration?
I don't think it's going to take very long once we get it out there. We have a schedule that shows us having all of this in place, ready for your approval, and this to be able to execute in the first quarter of the calendar year at the latest.
Okay.
So move pretty quick.
Okay. Well, that's fantastic. I'm sure you have more to report.
Actually, sir, I'm going to let the rest of my report stand for itself because I think I'll have plenty to talk about in a few minutes.
Fantastic.
I got one other question.
Please.
I don't know the mechanics of how the bond market works on that side, but I'm sure it's not like a home mortgage where you get a rate lock. Do you know, or could you come back to us to let us know when we would be able to, I guess, for lack of a better term, lock in that rate?
Yes, and that's part of the reason why I think it's so important that we did what we did tonight. That's going to be able to allow us to get exactly that type of information and bring back to you, be able to tell you exactly what we're looking at rather than, right now, these are just projections.
I wouldn't think there'd be a huge rate move by the first quarter, but
I wouldn't either.
I'm hoping it goes down and the savings go up.
hey, that could happen.
You got to be optimistic about it, right?
That's right.
I don't have anything to go much lower, though. That's a great question, though, Vice Mayor. So is that wrap up your report?
Yes, sir. I stand for any other questions.
Any other questions for the city manager? Seeing none? Thank you. Tonight, our city attorney, Ken Buckman, is with us virtually. And Mr. City Attorney, do you have a report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You had asked me to speak on the upcoming referendum on the city's ad valorem tax exemption.
Yes, sir. Please do.
Well, Chapter 196, Florida statutes authorizes cities and counties to grant property tax exemptions for new businesses and also the expansion of existing businesses in order to create new full-time jobs in the city. And the exemptions have to be approved by the citizens of Plant City in a referendum and are good for 10 years. In November of 2010, exactly 10 years ago, the citizens of Plant City approved the granting of such an exemption with 68% of the electors voting in favor of it. So the current exemption will expire to be renewed. Just as a reminder, at our July 13th meeting, the City Commission adopted a resolution calling for another referendum in order to extend the city's ad valorem tax exemption. So it is on the upcoming November ballot. Under the city's ordinance, the city grants a partial exemption on the new businesses and expansion of the existing businesses. I believe we've had 8 or 9 businesses that have applied for it. It was one of the reasons we were able to get Home Depot and Ace Hardware to come to Plant City, with each providing, I think Home Depot will have to provide at least 150 jobs and Ace Hardware 162 new jobs. So they're very significant in creating jobs within the city. So it's important to get the word out because this is an important tool in our toolbox to promote economic development and new jobs.
If I can add on to that, thanks for that report and giving us the legalities on that. We would be, there are several hundred jobs that would not be here or not be coming to Plant City if it wasn't for this plan. And also the budget that we have here tonight, the one we're anticipating having next year, would not have all the projects and all the improvements we were placing in our city if it wasn't for the companies that we've been able to, compete with and move. We compete every single day on why should people go to invest their, not just their money, but their time, because they're investing years and years and years and years of time of hiring our citizens to work in those companies to create the success they're looking for. And this is without this tool, I can tell you, we wouldn't even get past first base in many of these particular bids, because we're beating against other states, other cities. And that's one reason why we had the Plant City EDC. Without this particular approval of this referendum by our citizens, you would literally be just tying our EDC's hands behind their back, and they wouldn't have very much to work with. We already, when we compare ourselves to other states like South Carolina, Alabama, the tools they have are significantly greater in what they can offer as incentives to companies that are willing to relocate and into those markets. Ocala, for instance, other cities, we're competing on a deal right now where a city's offering free land, and it's not for like a midtown area, it's just for an industrial building, So we compete with those all the time. So this is something that's really important for us to be able to continue to be able to bring those companies into our community, bring those jobs into our community. And it's one of the reasons why you're seeing the average medium household income rise so dramatically, is because we're bringing in large organizations that are bringing in higher wages, and those higher wages makes other companies in our city have to bring their wages up to be able to compete with those companies. So it really makes a big improvement in our community. And I just think we got to get the word out that we need our citizens to really support this referendum, because we got it in 2010, and it's not something you give to every business. So only 9 companies that have applied for it, but the ones that win it are typically huge, large, make major investments into our community. So anyhow, Mr. City Attorney, is there any other words you want to say about that?
No, sir. I think you covered it well.
Okay. Do you have any other report?
No report. No further report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Does the commission have any questions or comments you want to make about this particular issue while we have the city attorney on the line? No? Okay. Thank you very much. City Attorney, thank you very much. Madam Clerk.
Yes, I had provided to the board, to the commission previously, applications received for the Historic Resources Boards. We have 2 positions open. The terms would start on November 1. It would be replacing Mr. Sperry and Ms. Pogue, who are not seeking to be reappointed. I have applications from Eric Barber, Aaron Hollenkamp, Shannon Collins, Sandy McCloughery, Maurice Wilson Sr. Mr. Wilson has asked if he is not chosen for HRB position, then to be considered possibly for an opening on the Code Enforcement Board. I do have 2 resolutions. We also have another person who has applied for a Code Enforcement Board position as well, and that's Tamika Simpson, but they will be voted on separately, HRB first and then Code Enforcement.
So just to recap, okay, tonight we have the opportunity, if we choose to appoint 2 members out of the 5 applicants we have that you mentioned, okay? And out of those 5, if that individual is not chosen, he has also asked for his application to be considered for either the full-time position or alternate position with the Code Enforcement Board. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
No, there's a 6. There's a 6 applicant. There was 1 applicant for Code Enforcement. but there were five.
That's what I just said.
I thought you said just five, but there was.
Five for the Historic Resources Board, one for the Code Enforcement Board, and then Maurice Wilson Senior could either be for the full-time position or an alternate position with the Code Enforcement Board if he's not chosen for the Historic Resources Board. Okay. So we're going to consider take action on the Historic Resources Board first. I would like just to start out by saying I went through all the applications and so forth, and again, I know I say this often, but we're just such a community, so lucky to have such talented individuals that give their time and with the history and the background and the leadership you've already provided in other areas in our community, and you choose to come in and help our city out by working on one of these boards. It really is important. We're always asking for our citizens to get involved, and here's an example of citizens get involved. So whether you're chosen tonight or not, we appreciate it. We thank you. And we'll ask you that if it doesn't work out with this particular board tonight, to please look for other opportunities. We always have opportunities and openings for you to get involved in our city. So at this time, I'd like to open it up for any discussion or a motion for one or two individuals to be appointed to the Historic Resources Board.
Mr. Mayor, if I could please. I agree with your comments, but I want to add something else.
Okay.
Yesterday, I took the time to call each one, but I did it after the Bucks game, so go Bucks. And it was such a delight to talk to each one of these applicants, and you can hear their enthusiasm, their love for the city, and wanting to give back. I wish we had a position for each and every one of them, but we don't. But for the Historic Resources Board, I would like to first nominate Miss Shannon Collins. I talked to this young lady, very impressed. As a matter of fact, she lives in the historic district. So, and I really enjoyed my conversation with her. That would be a recommendation to this commission.
So we have one nomination of Shannon Collins. Okay. And does any other member like to make another recommendation?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to recommend Sandy McClary. She lives in the historic district, right across the street from the 1914 high school. Been very much involved with the East Ojibwa County Historical Society, opening her home up for fundraisers and that magnitude. So I would recommend her nomination.
Okay, we have two nominations. Any others?
If I could just make a comment, Mr. Mayor. I think to your point previously, I could support any of these, candidates, frankly. And, going through the applications, all had great credentials. I agree with Commissioner Mathis. One of the things that kind of stuck out to me about Ms. Collins is, her background with the law, which I think would be very helpful on the board. Mr. Barber being so involved in Plant City already and really focused on activities in downtown would be a great addition. Ms. Hollenkamp, with the work that they're doing and renovating in the historic district. The comments from my fellow commissioner, and of course Mr. Wilson also having excellent credentials, so they could all be fantastic. But I think for the reasons mentioned already, I support those that have been nominated.
Fair notion. So we have a motion to approve Shannon Collins and Sandy McGlarity to the Historic Resources Board. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Are we nominating two? When there's only one?
Yes, there's two positions open.
I guess I'm confused.
So we're only handling the Historic Board now.
And there's two openings.
There's two openings, and then after we're finished with this, we will take on the Code Enforcement Board. Okay, which we have 3 openings for. Okay, 1 full-time and 2 alternate.
I'd just like to say a comment too. It's amazing how much in the last, seems like in the last 5 years or more, now we're getting more and more qualified and interested members of our community that want to become involved. And during the first 10 years of my tenure on this board, I can't recall that happening like it has in the last 5 or so. really thankful for that, and the quality of the applicants speaks for themselves, especially tonight. It's a dream come true and have 5 people vying 2 slots. That's very good.
Yeah, we gotta find something for the rest of them to do, right?
Yeah, that's a fact.
So if you weren't nominated tonight, then don't rest, we'll get something for you. So, we have a motion and a second to appoint.
Sponsored by, Commissioner Matthews, you made the motion. Make sure, heard right.
Yes, for Shannon Collins and Sandy McCleary. Okay, any discussion? We already had a lot of discussion, so let's go ahead and place the vote. Record the vote, please. And with a vote of 5-0, they are now our 2 newest members of the Historic Resources Board. And one of them I know is here tonight. Yes, you want to come forward real quick?
Shannon Collins.
Okay, I recognize you. I didn't want to make a mistake. Okay, our name. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. I don't know where to stand.
That is,
Thank you so all so much.
it was very obvious when you about jumped out of the chair just then. So,
That's pretty excited.
so you and Sandy are neighbors, I guess, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Do y'all know each other?
Which I don't think. Which house does she live in? What's the address?
Rowan Corner, 702 North Oak.
702.
And you're 704, right?
I'm 706.
Oh, 706.
I'm right behind the Sparkman house.
Okay.
We share a wall.
See, there's one house between you and her.
Uh,
Or Ron.
On the way home tonight, stop in and. Well, well, again, welcome, and please come to all our meetings. And we're very proud of the work that our Historic Resources Board does. And as you can see, has a long history, and it really, when people think of Plant City, I know they think of the strawberry and they think about nice, warm, sweet people, but they also think about our Historic Resources Board. So it's an important board, and we're proud that you're going to serve.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay. So now we have, we have Tamika Simpson, and we also have Maurice Wilson Sr. Okay. He was willing to serve on either the Historic Resources Board or the Code Enforcement Board. And we have 3 spots available, and we have 2 individuals. Okay. We have 1, which will be a full board member. Then we have 2 alternate position board seats open as well. Okay. So it's open to the commission.
I'd like to make a comment to add to what I said. When I talked to each one of the applicants, one of the questions that I asked, because I know one time or another, we may have had a problem, but they all said that they will make it work within their schedules to be at these meetings. So I really appreciate those comments. And if I could make a recommendation at this time for the Code Enforcement Board, the applicant, Ms. Tamika Simpson as the applicant and Mr. Wilson as the alternates.
Okay.
I would second that.
So good. We have a motion to approve Tamika Simpson as the full board member, and then Maurice Wilson Sr. as the alternate. Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, please place your vote. Record the vote, please. And with a vote of 5-0, the motion is approved. So we have 2 new members to our board, and we're very, very excited about that. And again, the code enforcement, I mean, that says it all. I mean, that's the organization that has a really hard job, because it's trying to, verify and keep the standards we have in our city at a certain standard, and which obviously improves the quality of life for their neighbors as well when they have properties that don't meet that standard. So again, thank you for those. For those individuals that were not selected this evening, again, thank you for putting in your application, and please keep on putting your application in. We want to get you involved in a board. Obviously, as you heard from the comments tonight, everyone has the qualities that we're looking forward to serving on our boards. We please encourage you to apply for other boards as they come available. So thank you very much. And again, those that are chosen, congratulations. Commissioner Mathis.
And I think they're here, Ms. Simpson, right? Yes. and Mr. Wilson in the back. If we can
Please stand up.
Yes.
You want to come forward? Please come forward. Oh, no. If you're here, I'm going to put you on the spot. Well, Marisa grew a beard, so I you know, so. But Tamika, well, let's start with you. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. I just wanted to, like I had spoken with Commissioner Mathis and said, we just really wanted to get more involved. Some of you see me around different things, but I feel like there's something that I can give, and so I'll start there.
Good place to start.
Yes.
It's a great place to start. Thank you. Mr. Wilson? Good to see you this evening.
Good to see you.
Yeah, congratulations. And we're so glad that you come to the meetings quite often. So we're glad that you've will now be serving on one of our boards. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the consideration of not being able to serve on one, but going to the other. So I appreciate that very much.
Well,
To the commission, thank you so kindly.
thank you. We appreciate it. Thanks to all of you.
And I want to make one
Go
additional
ahead.
comment. The Code Enforcement Board, that's the board that's near and dear to me. I know we believe in building new, but my thing is let's take care of what we already have. So that board is near and dear to me, but thank you so much for your application. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And if you don't, you're going to hear from Commissioner Mathis. Okay. Madam Clerk.
Reports.
Okay, do you have any?
My report.
That's it.
Bye.
No further report then, okay. Commissioner Mathis?
Yes, sir. I just have two quick things. Number one, I want to say a thank you to the Crossings Church on September 20th. They invited me to a prayer service. They had it out around the flagpole here at City Hall, 1:30. And let me tell you, the thing about it, as the pastor began his prayer, the Mr. Rain came. And, you know, the rain is something about cleansing and the living water. And to let each of you know, they called each of you on this diocese, name by name, to pray your strength and to continue doing what you're doing. So thank you to the Crossings Church. And the last thing, on, I think it was September 18th, 2020, we lost a justice, Ruth Ginsburg. And I have to be remiss to say something about her, the notorious RBG, because without her doing what she did, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. And I don't know if you know this, but in her fight on the court, before she got there, I don't know if you knew, women weren't able to get a mortgage without a male cosigner. You believe that? Women, we couldn't open a checking account without a male cosigner. We couldn't start a business without a male cosigner, but she fought for us. And some banks, not until 1974, wouldn't let a woman open a checking account. So to you, the notorious RBG, I want to say thank you, and may you please rest in heaven. That ends my report, sir.
That was beautiful and well said. Thank you. Mr. Dawson.
Yes, I just wanted to comment on the fact that last week we all enjoyed the groundbreaking at Ace Hardware. We were all present for them. We know that what they bring to our community is going to mean a great deal of new opportunity, a lot of new jobs, and we welcome having them here. And they'll be one of two once the developer finds that second party to move into the second 1 million square foot warehouse that he'll build for them. It'll bring additional jobs. So, and that will complete pretty much our task for what we started several years ago out on County Line Road, creating opportunities. And it certainly has made a difference, as you pointed out earlier, Mr. Mayor. Without the additional revenue stream that's come from all of that additional development on County Line Road, we wouldn't have been able to do what we're doing this year with the budget as we're moving forward. And the beauty of it is, we also, at the time that we talked about doing this some 5 or 6 years ago, when we were talking about putting water sewer lines out there on County Line Road in order to facilitate growth, we also talked about doing the same on State Road 39. And we agreed at the time that it probably wasn't the right time moment to spend that much money and not get the return on the investment as quickly as we had aspired to, as we did in County Line Road. Well, of course, now that's changed. We're getting a lot of inquiries on State Road 39 for commercial development, slightly different type of development pattern, but we welcome that, and the water and sewer lines are going in. So I think that where we leave with County Line Road, we'll begin on State Road 39 with new activity, new interests, and new jobs coming from commerce. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to the new year. It's great that we've got a budget that's going to give us the outcomes that we seek from this additional revenue stream. A lot of new work product that's coming out of it. So the staff will be challenged, obviously, and I know they'll do as good as they've been doing. And a final note on the governor's announcement just the other day, I think a couple of days ago, he announced that the state of Florida now is moving into phase 3. And of course, that'll bring a lot of concern to a lot of people. But on the other hand, I welcome the governor's good intentions to offer personal responsibility and allow people to make good decisions moving forward in all areas of opening that will come from phase 3 movement. And that completes my remarks.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Dawson. Commissioner Spartman.
Thank you, Your Honor. Commissioner Mathis, I also was invited and had all plans of being at that service with the Reverend Pippin Sunday. I'm sorry to miss it. Due to bad weather, I had told him I would be coming in about that time because of bad weather that I had to drive through. I was delayed and unable to make it, so I'm glad that you were there to represent us, and I knew that would be a great opportunity. I'm sure most of you in Plant City know Lindsay Bowden was seriously injured last week. She's a college student. She's a member of the Bowden family, well known in Plant City. She was seriously injured and had to be in hospitalization for a period of time. But like always, our community rallied with prayer and support for that family. And man, that's what makes Plant City what it is. When our community rallies together to support each other in our time of need. So I just want to commend the community and the city for that action. And she appears to be doing well, and with all hopes, we got our fingers crossed that she will continue to be and come back, bounce back better than she was. So if that's possible, but our prayers and thoughts are with that Bowden family. Thank you, Your Honor.
Sure, Vice Mayor.
Bring on the budget.
Bring on the budget. I'll second that. He's excited. None numbers. Okay. Madam Clerk, what's the next order of business?
Legislative public hearings. This is the public hearing on a final millage rate and final budget. We have Diane Ricard to make a statement.
Tonight, Florida statute section 200.065 requires the following announcement prior to the adoption of the millage levy resolution. The name of the taxing authority is the City of Plant City. The rollback rate is calculated by using the taxable value within the city for the calendar year 2020, exclusive of new construction additions and deletions, divided by the 2019 outgoing tax revenue to calculate a millage rate, which will be provided the same ad valorem tax revenue for the city as was levied in the prior year. The rollback rate is 5.2846 per 1,000 valuation. The millage rate to be levied is 5.7157, which is an 8.16% over the rollback rate. The $1,502,155 increase in ad valorem revenues in the general fund is being used to cover the increase in general fund operating costs, such as fuel, vehicle lease, additional public safety pension contribution, and personnel costs. The revenue generated from the one bill, which is dedicated solely to street resurfacing and maintenance costs, totals $2,540,494. The total budget for fiscal year 2020-21 is $94,814,360. The total taxable value is $2,674,886,900. $204,538. Thank you very much.
Okay, you just said a lot in a little bit of time. For those in our audience, the budget is an annual work in motion. It never stops, you know, and it's a working document all year long. And then a few prior months, we start the process of meeting with staff and you know, our wants and desires. And some projects, you know, you're able to do in one single year, one single budget. Other budgets require us to spread that out over many years. The plan and design, you know, the PD&E, the acquisition, you know, and then all of a sudden you get down to construction dollars and so forth. So that budget, you know, some projects you'll hear about for many, many years until it becomes a completion. Like the fire station, that next month we should have the, you know, grand opening for the Sadie Gibbs Martin Community Center. We just had the grand opening for last month. Those were projects that took, wow, that was almost a decade that we talked about doing that, you know. So anyhow, this budget really is the framework, and it's something that we work on year long. In previous meetings, we've had our workshops where we, you know, went through the dynamics of the budget. And our last commission meeting, we went through a very, very long, very good detailed meeting by our city manager and staff on every fine point in the budget, where the dollars come from, how they're spent, how they're allocated, those projects that will be complete this year, that will be, you know, take over multi-years. So it was a very detailed budget. And then here tonight, we opened it up in our last meeting for public comment, and here tonight, we're going to do the same thing. But before we open it up to comment, I'm going to ask the city manager for some final remarks before we open it up to public comment, and also see if the commission has any other questions for the city manager. City manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for you, Vice Mayor, I'll throw a few numbers out as we go along. We do believe that the budget that has been put forward for the next fiscal year is responsible and proactive as a spending plan that will benefit all of the residents and taxpayers in our city. All funds are considered to be fiscally positive and in a prudent position. The total budget for the coming fiscal year is proposed at $94,814,360. That includes $1,862,536 for the CRA. Of the total budget, the general fund budget is $39,926,225. Diane has already covered the millage rate. We will go again this year. We are investing in some of our community partners. As you know, we provide funding to the Plant City Economic Development Corporation. We also provide funding to assorted groups throughout the city, to include the Chamber of Commerce, the Boys and Girls Club, the Railroad Museum Society. We provide funding for the maintenance of the 1914 building. We support Plant City Main Street. We do set aside money for the Economic Incentive QTI program. And we also have partnerships with the Plant City Arts Council, and we support financially the Black Heritage Celebration and the Improvement League of Plant City, and also our annual Christmas parade. Some of the investments that we are making in our community in the proposed budget and the coming fiscal year include supporting our public safety operations and police. We are also investing significantly in our parks and recreation departments, and supporting, of course, our library and other essential city operations. We also have $320,000 in the budget for sidewalk improvements throughout various parts of the city. We are transitioning into automated collection in our solid waste department. As you know, we are into phase 1 of that plan as we acquire our new trucks, and also move forward with acquiring the 12,000 carts that will be required to support that program. We're also investing quite a bit in capital outlay throughout our city. A couple of high points. We are investing $2.5 million to resurface arterial roads and neighborhood streets. $2.2 million of that is generated from the $1 million property tax dedicated solely to road resurfacing and related maintenance, with another $320,000 coming from the CDBG. We have a number of projects in the proposed budget, including rebuilding the Dort Street basketball and tennis courts for $350,000. We are also embarking on a research and design program for a spray park. We'll be spending up to $100,000 on that effort. We have provided an additional $350,000 to the project to design and construct a new tennis center that will include expanded restrooms, add showers, and various other amenities to improve the center for all of our tennis players. And we see an awful lot of tournament play from around the region there, so that's going to be a very good investment. We're also moving forward with constructing a playground at the brand new Sadie Gibbs Martin Community Center. We plan to spend up to $175,000 on that. We also have another $150,000 earmarked for other playground improvements around the city. Of course, we have to maintain our infrastructure and our assets. We have a great deal of funding dedicated to those types of projects, including $1,650,000 to repair lift stations, replace water lines, gravity sewer lines, generators, pumps, storage tanks, and other parts of our very critical infrastructure around the city. We are significantly investing $4.35 million to construct the water treatment plant number 5. And for everyone listening, water treatment plant is a fancy way of saying well. We are expanding the drinking water capacity in our city, and that is a very significant project. We also are continuing to put funding toward our Macintosh project in a couple of different ways. We have $100,000 dedicated to the indirect potable reuse project, exploring the idea of injecting our reclaimed water to basically generationally secure our water future in Plant City. And we have another $287,175 dedicated to the design portion of the Macintosh Park wetland expansion project. And as you all know, that's a tremendous amenity that we're working on that will preserve wetlands, uplands, construct boardwalks, observation towers, walking trails, and other amenities for the public to enjoy the surface level of Macintosh, while we also move forward with this recharge research project to find a way to use our water, get it back into the aquifer, and secure our city's water future. It's a very significant project for us. We have another $200,000 earmarked for rehabilitation and repair of stormwater drainage pipes and inlets around the city. And of course, when you see rain like we did today, you really understand the importance of continuing to invest in maintaining and keeping that stormwater infrastructure functioning as it should. And finally, we are earmarking funds to invest in our employees. Like any business, our workforce is our most precious and critical asset. Without our people, our services are not delivered. We have a 3% cost of living adjustment included in the budget. We are continuing our public safety step plans. We have also added 8.5 new positions. The 0.5, as you'll recall, eliminates the last part-time position in the city inventory. We will now have strictly full-time employees in our roster. We're continuing our tuition reimbursement plan, and we also are covering the health insurance increase for our employees in this coming fiscal year. And one other project that I want to mention is the budget includes a outdoor fitness equipment to be installed at Cooper Park. I'm particularly excited about that project because it will mirror the Brewer Park Outdoor Fitness Center that is about completed. In fact, if that's not finished this week, it will be finished next week, and that is going to be available for the public to enjoy as they go out and walk around Brewer Pond. And then as soon as we hit the new budget year, I've told Jack Holland, let's go, let's roll with the vendor, and let's get this installed at Cooper Park. And my goal is to have that equipment installed by the end of the calendar year. Fingers crossed that the vendor can make that. They've done very well at Brewer despite the rain. We're coming into what will hopefully be drier weather. and I'm anticipating we can meet that goal. And of course, I have one other project in the budget that you've heard me, all of you have heard me talk about. I'm very excited to explore the potential to develop city-owned property known as Boy Scout Pit into the city's first and currently only waterfront recreational area, where I hope that we are able to create an opportunity for our citizens to enjoy activities such as fishing and kayaking and canoeing on that particular body of water. And that's kind of a summary and some highlights of what is in the proposed budget.
As a highlight.
Our highlights sound like some cities' full budget, so that's just the highlights. Any questions or statements for the city manager?
Yeah, I will point out that I took a walk around Brook Pond, or lake, however you want to call it, and was very satisfied. And I think a lot of people will get a lot of pleasure out of utilizing all the equipment that the city has put in there to complement their walk. Certainly see a lot of activity around there since the improvements have been made with the walking trail. I now expect that there'll be even more. And to do a similar type thing at Cooper Park, it's going to be a real bonus for the community. Looking forward to it.
And then when we can connect, we already connected, Brewer to Snowden,
right?
Then connected to Midtown and connected to Cooper. All of a sudden, you have 4 parks. That could be one total workout. Look like how good we all look, right? Hopefully they're a lot better than us, right? Exactly. But you're right, that is, it's one of those assets that we knew it was going to have a big impact to our city, but that's been like a park that really surprised us just how much of a quality of life increases has been to the citizens in Plant City. That's probably one of the most used parks we have. That's a passive park, not a recreational park with ball fields and football fields and so forth. So
yeah, it's wonderful. And coming at the heels of the improvements made at City Ginsmark, our community center, boy, that's getting utilized. I've gone out, as you had mentioned, you ought to take a look. So I did. And kids are rolling in from all over it after school hours, whether it's virtual or at school. They're afterwards, they get some time to themselves and they get to go in there and enjoy it. And it's going to be great. It is great already.
And it's still under limited use. When it goes to full capacity, I can imagine how many kids will be there. Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Good. When do you think that'll be that we'll go to full, not limited use? Get back with us on that?
Yeah.
Put you on the spot there. Commissioner Boston, any other comments?
No.
Any questions to the manager?
No.
Any other commissioners?
I'd like to make a comment. First of all, Mr. City Manager, thank you. Even during this pandemic, we've been working. I too walk that pond between about 7:30 and 8 o'clock, and everybody's wondering when are they gonna take those orange barricades down so they could start their workout. So I can let them know to be sometime end of this week or next week, and looking forward to Cooper Pond because that's a little bit closer to me. But what I missed is last 2 weeks, our last commission meeting, you had diagrams up. This budget touches almost every part of our city. Every area, something is happening. So thank you for that, to look after all of our citizens, to make sure that they're getting something to enhance their community. I'm looking forward to it. You and staff, you have a big job ahead of you, but I know without a shadow of a doubt, you're going to be able to handle it. And probably you already have things in mind for the next budget. So, but thank you so much. Great budget, and I'm ready to vote.
Commissioner Matthews, I agree with you. I said it's one thing to put something in writing and approve it. The next thing is making it a reality. Yeah. That's what the real work. So that's a great comments. Vice Mayor.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Again, Mr. City Manager, Ms. Riker, and your entire team, thanks for all the hard work. I know it's a monumental task and chore, but look at the fruits of that labor this evening as we come to the end of our third meeting discussing all of this. Certainly also very excited about, what we've done in the past several years with the commitment to infrastructure, and then now tackling kind of the last unfunded liability with our safety workers pension plan and the commitment we made this year for that additional 1.7 million over and above what we're required to fund, getting it closer to that 80 to 100%, fully funded mark. So that's very exciting for us to hit that milestone. One of the things that I'm really pleased with is I think an overall philosophy of the city that allows us to continue to maintain the strong financial position and the good stewardship. I think when you look around the country at where other municipalities and governments get in trouble is when they are saddled with too much at the top, too much administration, too many people, too many recurring costs that compound year after year. And I think there's a temptation sometimes to, when you've got a problem, just to try to throw a body at it, to solve that problem. At the City of Plant City, there's a philosophy that starts at the top, goes all the way through the leadership team and through every employee that says that we are a customer service organization. We're going to leverage technology. We're going to have strong processes, and we're going to be more efficient. We're going to do more with less. And that's what allows us to continue to be strong. Rather than hiring 30 people or 40 people, we can get where we need to be with hires of 8.5. And I think that's one of the primary reasons why we continue to be so strong and so great at what we do. And it's because of all of our fine staff. So thank you for all your hard work.
And as long as we're diligent in controlling our costs, we'll always be able to improve our city.
That's right.
Great comments. Any other comments? Okay. This is a public hearing regarding the final millage rate and the final budget. Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission at this time? Okay. Yes? Anything? No. Okay. In the notice for this public hearing, the public was advised to contact the clerk for those who wish to speak virtually at least 6 hours prior to the public hearing, should anyone wish to speak. No one requested to speak in this particular public hearing tonight. Being that there's no speakers in person this evening or virtually, the hearing is now closed for the final millage rate and the final budget. Madam Clerk, would you please read the resolution?
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Plant City, Florida, levying ad valorem taxes for the calendar year of 2020 for ordinary purposes of the city in accordance with procedures provided in section 200.065 Florida statutes. This resolution adopts the final the final millage rate at 5.7157.
What is the pleasure of the commission?
Move to approve.
And I will second it.
Okay. For the record-setting budget for the history of Plant City, the motion is made to approve it by Commissioner Mathis and seconded by Commissioner Dotson. Any further discussion?
Yeah, it was almost a competition to see who could first make a motion to approve the budget because we're so enthusiastic about this.
You almost knocked each other's chair, I noticed.
We're both going after it at the same time.
Any other discussion? Okay. Please place your vote. Record the vote, please. And with no surprise, this budget is approved with a vote 5-0. Mr. City Manager and staff, congratulations.
Your Honor, I thought that was just for the millage. Was that for the budget too?
No, that's just for the millage.
That's for the millage rate.
Okay.
The public hearing, that's right. The public hearing is for both, but the resolution was for the millage. Okay. Okay, Madam Clerk, next item.
Resolution of the City of Plant City, Florida, adopting a final budget and appropriating certain monies for the general operation of the city from its several funds for the 12-month period beginning October 1, 2020.
Okay. We have a resolution for the final budget. What is the pleasure of the commission?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the budget excluding the Plant City Economic Development Corporation. If we could vote on that separately, I've got a conflict of interest because my accounting firm provides services for them.
No problem. We have a motion to approve the budget excluding the funding for the Plant City EDC.
Second motion, Your Honor.
And seconded by Commissioner Sparkman. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please place your vote. Record the vote. And we have approved our budget beginning October 1st, 2020 through 2021. Okay, at this time, we need a motion to approve the budget or the funding for the Plant City EDC.
Motion to approve the budget for EDC.
I would second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Sparkman and a second by Commissioner Mathis to approve the funding for the Plant City EDC. Any further discussion?
This will be a voice vote.
Be a voice vote, okay. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by saying nay. And if you're abstaining.
One abstention.
One abstention, okay. So it's approved with a vote of 4-0 against and 1 abstain, okay? Now we can celebrate the budget.
Hooray.
Again, congratulations. Well, I'll tell you, we said this before. Every year I keep on thinking there's no way we can come back with a budget's better than one in the previous year. And again, I said last meeting, I said again, this budget, I don't know how we're going to come up with a budget for city manager and commissioners that can do more for our city than what we just did. But I know that we're going to do our best to come out with something next year that's even better. So that's the challenge, and we accept the challenge. And again, I'm very excited to see how this is moving this city forward. I think even though we didn't have any public comments tonight during the budget, I know that all of us are receiving public comments every day in our city. They're telling us what they'd like to see us do. They'd like to see other projects do, and they're also telling us, just as we're out and about in our lives in our city, on the things that they love that is going on in our city. So we get public comment every single day because we live in the community that we serve. So anyhow, and by the way, that's my favorite public comment. So if you see us out, for those that are here or those that are virtually, you see us out and about, please come up to us. I don't matter if we're with our wives on date night or not. Right, honey? She's sitting right here to the right. We want to hear from you and what you'd like to see us do and how we can improve our city.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
Maybe Mr. City Manager could let Ms. Brayford wait till next week to start on next year's budget.
Did she get a week off? She never gets a week off. Diane, you and your team, great job. City Manager, any final comments before we go into the rest of it?
Well, I was gonna say a minute ago, challenge accepted. I like a good challenge, so
there you
I
go.
look forward to that next year's budget, and maybe 1 week of rest, but then we got to get busy because that's a big challenge. But I just think this budget that we've just gotten passed is representative of the types of improvements and investments that we are making in our community. And I'm very excited to continue that and look forward to really what we can do next, because it all comes down to improving our community overall. And that's very exciting work for all of us.
Thank you so much. Well, again, not to belabor things, but I'm ready to get this budget not just on paper, but in the ground. That's when it's really exciting when we're doing our grand openings and so forth. And so I know that we have plenty, and that'll be going on this next year. And we're looking forward to a good solid year. Madam Clerk, next item.
This is a public hearing on a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Plant City, Florida, adopting a capital improvements budget for the ensuing fiscal year and the next 4 years thereafter."
Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the commission at this time regarding the capital improvement budget for fiscal 2020, 2021, and for the next 4 years thereafter? This is a public hearing. Okay. In the notice for this public hearing, the public was advised to contact the clerk for those who wish to speak virtually about items 7B on the agenda, and to give notice at least 6 hours prior to the public hearing. There was no request to speak virtually in this public hearing. Being there's no speakers, no other speakers right now, this public hearing is closed. What the pleasure of the commission?
Mr. Mayor, we can't have a budget without having capital improvements to go with it. And there is a requirement that a resolution be adopted to support that. So I'd like to make a motion to do so.
Fantastic.
And I would second that motion.
We're going left to right here tonight, aren't we? Okay. We have a motion to approve the resolution, and second by Commissioner Dotson and second by Commissioner Mathis. Any discussion? Seeing none, please place your vote. Record the vote, please. It's approved with a vote of 5-0. Madam Clerk, next item.
This is a public hearing on a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Plant City, Florida, approving project plans, setting forth the projects, including reasonable detail for each, on which the city will expend its distribution of transportation sales surtax proceeds for calendar year 2021. We have a staff, Frank Kopenauer, available for the presentation.
Well, Frank, good evening. There's no way we can have a commission with a meeting without a PowerPoint, so we're sure glad you're here tonight to give us a PowerPoint presentation. It's good to see you back here.
Yes, make sure it's on the side. And then you should be good, just hit the arrow.
I'm presenting hopefully a brief outline of the projects that will be funded with the 2021 transportation surcharge. In general, this expenditure is going to encover three types of projects: a number of street resurfacing projects, some sidewalk connectivity, which we'll dwell on in a minute, and furthering the bicycle and pedestrian ones. In general, the projects are selected by the department director and staff, reviewed with the city manager, and they're here tonight for your commission approval. Street resurfacing is going to take a number of individual streets that were slated for future years and accelerate them, and they'll be paved a little quicker than they would have been otherwise. We've dispersed the projects throughout the city. It's covering 5 neighborhoods. There's roughly 36 streets and about 6.5 miles of streets that will be repaved. Sidewalk connectivity has been addressed a number of spots around town where there's gaps in existing sidewalks. And we're going to go in and fill those in so you can walk from one place to another without having to get transportation. Bicycle master plan was there was a plan developed in 2017 by the MPO, and this step is looking to progress a little bit further, make a little more of a reality. As Mary referred to, connecting parks, so we can connect schools, neighborhoods, and progress that plan a little bit further. We'll be developing cost estimates and identifying priority projects. In a little more detail, there's roughly $2.8 million expected to be revenue from this 2021 surcharge, surtax. About 2.4 million of that will go to overlay projects. Roughly 200,000 will go to the sidewalk improvements, and about 200,000 to the advancing the bicycle and pedestrian master plan. As Commissioner Mathis mentioned about the budget in general, projects were dispersed around town. There was an effort to make sure these projects are dispersed. And the map scale is a little bit small for you to see where they're at, so we'll go into a little more detail for each of these. There's a number of projects west of Park Road near Cherry Street. A couple of street resurfacings you see in the yellow. The green to the right is the sidewalk extension from Park Road to the parks, where there's currently sidewalks at the parks. A number of streets to be resurfaced between Wheeler and Franklin. Risk Street and a section of sidewalk off of Risk Reynolds. Additional sidewalks that are east of, or street resurfacing east of Midtown. And some street resurfacing along the lake. If you go down to the right, towards the bottom, there's a significant section of sidewalk to be completed off of Johnson Road. In last year's approval for the 2020 funds, there was a list of streets. These have not been completed yet. These are still on the list. These are essentially resubmitted for your endorsement. They will be resubmitted with this list to the county oversight committee. And the recommendation is the commission approve the list, and we will then present it to the independent oversight committee.
So we want to make sure that this is an area where we're crystal clear with our citizens is on where this budget dollars are at, what we're doing with it, and when these projects will actually occur. So City Manager, you'd like to elaborate on that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. What we're doing here tonight is presenting the proposed list of projects that will, first of all, hopefully be approved by the City Commission tonight. That will allow us to prepare a transmittal letter and then present this plan to the Independent Oversight Committee for further review as per the dictates of the referendum. All of these funds are frozen. As you know, the referendum is a subject of litigation. It is currently in the appeals court awaiting a decision. Until such time as there is a decision, nothing can be done with this funding. If the court were to find in favor of the referendum, thereby allowing the use of these funds, you would then see us begin to do the projects that have been approved from past fiscal years, as well as this proposed list for the coming fiscal year. Even though the referendum is in litigation and the funds are frozen, we are still required to go through these steps to, first of all, have commission approval for our plan, submit it to the IOC for their review, and then that becomes part of our roadmap moving forward if and when the referendum is affirmed and we're able to use the funds. So that's what's going on here. Even though we do not have access to use the money at this time, we still have to go through this review and approval process. And we need your approval tonight to move forward, transmit this to the IOC, and then make this presentation in front of that body in the coming weeks to stay in compliance with the dictates of the referendum.
So what we're voting on right now is the dollars that are attached to the Hillsborough Transportation 1 cent sales tax that is currently waiting on a court decision by the state Supreme Court.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. City Attorney, we want to add anything to that?
No, Your Honor, I think the city manager explained it well. We're waiting on the Supreme Court. At the time we did the oral argument, there were 2 vacancies on the Supreme Court, and now those 2 vacancies have been filled. So maybe that's what's, I have no guess as to why it's taken so long, but at some point we hope to get a decision favorable to the city.
Okay. But the dollars are being collected, they're just frozen, we can't be used until that decision is being made. So again, this budget is that once that decision is made, we're allowed to use the dollars, here's our budget. If not, then we'll have to find other ways to, out of our other funds to fund these projects. Correct, Mr. City Manager?
That's correct. And, depending on the timing, we could very well be coming back and amending this plan. There are 2 elements that I can see impacting it, especially in street resurfacing. One, if it continues to drag on, we continue to pave streets, and we may very well start getting into some of our past lists simply because we're not going to wait. So we may end up having to adjust that list because of that. The other thing that I can see impacting these lists is, as you all know, from our experience over the last few years of doing all this resurfacing, we do engineer estimates. We come up with what we believe to be a reasonable price, and we've had the very good fortune of the bids coming in lower than the estimate, and that has given us additional dollars to invest into additional street paving. So that could very well impact this. But other than that, it's exactly as you stated, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Kokenheier or the city manager? Seeing none. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience like to address the commission at this time? This is a public hearing. Please come forward. This public hearing would be about this particular matter, about the surge tax. Present your name and address for the record.
Maurice Wilson, 1104 East Springfield Street, Plainfield, Florida. My question is, what is the current tax that we're looking at as of right now?
This is a referendum that was approved 2 years ago by all Hillsborough County voters. It was a 1 cent sales tax that goes for transportation. Of that revenue, the Plant City, based on our population, gets a percentage of the county's transportation fund for road improvements. Okay.
So it's 1%.
1 cent sales tax. Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Okay, this is still a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the commission at this time? Okay. Okay, seeing none in our audience. We also, as before, in the notice of this public hearing was advised to contact the clerk for those who wish to speak virtually at least 6 hours prior to the public hearing, should anyone wish to speak in this particular public hearing. There were no requests. Being no other speakers, this public hearing is closed. What is the pleasure of the commission?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to, is there any discussion? Seeing none, please place your vote. Record the vote, please. It's approved with a vote of 5-0. Madam Clerk, next item.
This is a public hearing on an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Plant City, Florida, amending Section 58-61 Plant City Code, delaying the effective date of rate increases for collection of garbage from single-family residences, providing for penalties, providing for several buildings, providing for an effective date.
Tonight, we're going to have a presentation by Jill Sessions.
Sir.
Welcome, Jill.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, and City Manager. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I have 2 slides to be a record. The City Solid Waste Chapter 58 of the Plant City Codes calls for a 3% increase annually for the single-family residential rate. I'm requesting tonight that we withdraw that increase for fiscal year 21. This was recommended in the rate study that was presented in April of 2019, and also at that time, the recommendation was to increase multifamily, commercial, and special pickups at 3%, which it's already in the budget to increase those counts. And just for a quick comparison of where we stand among local government agencies, our single family rate is right in the middle, and that's for municipalities that provide twice a week trash collection. There are a couple of municipalities that only pick up once a week, and we're lower than one of those. And then Lakeland is pretty on the lower end, but again, that's once a week collection. And then the multifamily rate, again, we are actually the lowest on that, and that's not an apples to apples comparison because most municipalities, your multifamily rate is only for dwellings of 6 units or less. And so if it's more than 6 units, it's treated as commercial. So again, our residents here in Plant City, with the 3% increase for fiscal year 21, multifamily will be almost $10 less than single family. So again, that's a pretty good deal. We still pick up the bulk at those locations. It's hard to compare commercial, but in the rates that we were low to the end of the pack. So even with a 3% increase, we're still not high because that's commercial dumpster service. Any questions?
Any questions, Ms. Sessions?
I just would like to comment on how fine a job Ms. Sessions has done since she's come on board, and welcome her level of expertise in sending us through this process. The numbers speak for themselves. We're in great shape on a revenue generating fund that we don't have to charge more for because we've done a really good job. And now we're looking forward to doing even more with service for our residents by offering picking it up. Yes, exactly. It's going to be great. And that'll take us to a whole new generation of level of service, I think. So,
thank you. Yeah, our rates will actually go down slightly when we go automated. And we did our first videotaping last week. It couldn't have gone any better. So we're going to start doing some community outreach once that video is completed.
Okay. Any comments from it? Has it been released?
Hasn't been released. Well, city manager.
A star is born.
The weather was perfect, and we went to 4 different locations, and the citizens wanted to keep the carts that we set out. Yeah, because it matches. It's like almost like a strawberry red, so it's really nice. And again, when we issue those carts to residents, they're not going to have to pay for that. So yeah, it's, you know, even with COVID, I wanted to commend my staff because we had very few illnesses or people out for whatever you want to call it, I call it incubation, quarantine, and That's
They're both the same thing almost.
Yeah. Feels like it. I think that's phenomenal, given that we still, pick up manually, so we come face to face with garbage. Then we'll take it seriously with all the CDC's recommendations. So if, I don't usually lose sleep at night for lunch, but worrying about 50% of my workforce be quarantined or get sick was carrying on for a while there. And I think we hopefully passed the the numbers are still kind of high in Plant City, but they haven't let their guard down. So I just wanted to commend them for that. We had some temp workers come out with gas masks and everything. They were so scared of being exposed to whatever's in the trash. But again, all of the hand sanitizers, face masks, and protocols that we put in place kept everyone well. So just wanted to put that out there.
Any other questions from Ms. Sessions? Mr. City Manager?
No further comment, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the commission at this time? Okay. Like the other public hearings we've had earlier, it was noticed that in the public hearing, you were advised to contact the clerk at least 6 hours prior to tonight's meeting to participate in this public hearing virtually. We received no request to speak virtually during this public hearing. What is the pleasure of the commission? This public hearing is closed.
Make a motion to approve the ordinance for fee schedule, single-family residential garbage collection.
I'd second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please place your vote. Record the vote, please. It's approved with a vote of 5-0. Madam Clerk, next item.
I was informed by the city attorney that the next item, the bonds regarding Bonsola subdivision, before I read the resolution, should be under the quasi judicial hearing section. So we need to, before I read that and begin with the rest of the quasi judicials, we need to swear in anybody that.
Okay, if you're going to participate in the following hearings, okay, it would be item 7E on the agenda and items 8A, B, and C on the agenda. Those are all four of those are quasi judicial hearings, and you must be sworn in. So if you're going to participate in any way, shape, or form as staff or as a public in those public hearings, you need to be sworn in by our clerk. So if you're going to participate in item 7E or items 8A, B, and C, please stand and be sworn in by our clerk.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
And I assume those that are virtual would be doing the same thing if they're participating. Okay.
I'm going to read the resolution.
Please move forward.
This is a public hearing on a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Plant City waiving the requirements for reclaimed water lines for proposed subdivision of Bonsilva subdivision, a proposed subdivision located at the northeast corner of West Trapnell Road and James L. Redmond Parkway in Section 8, Township 28, Range 22, East Hillsborough County, Florida."
We have a presentation by Marlene Sanchez. Ms. Sanchez?
Yes, good evening.
Good to see you tonight.
You too. I'm Marlene Sanchez, planner with the Planning and Zoning Division, and I have been sworn in. Bonsilva, a 71-lot single-family subdivision, has requested a waiver to the requirement for the installation of reclaimed water lines. It is located at the northwest corner of James L. Redmond Parkway and West Trapnell Road, and is approximately 22 acres. This shows the plat of the subdivision. The Utilities Division had no objections to the waiver request, noting that reclaimed water is not available to the site. In August, the Planning Board found a waiver consistent with Section 94-138B to allow reclaimed water lines to be waived in areas not programmed for such service, and to forward to the City Commission with a recommendation of approval. The recommendation is that the City Commission adopt a resolution approving the waiver from providing reclaimed water for the Bonsilva subdivision. And that concludes my presentation.
Any questions for Ms. Sanchez? Okay. Is the applicant or an applicant representative in attendance tonight virtually?
Virtually.
How about live? We'll take you live tonight, okay?
Steve Boggs.
Someone's probably, I don't know if we hit with the elbow or the fist bump, live or virtual, you know? So.
Steve Boggs, Boggs Engineering, 607 South Alexander Street. I have been sworn in, and we agree with staff recommendations. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Anyone have any questions, Mr. Boggs?
How'd you get that limp, Steve? I'm sorry, where'd you get that limp coming up here? You're coming down a little bit.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission at this time? Okay. Again, this is a public hearing. In the notice for this public hearing, you were advised if you want to speak during this public hearing virtually, that you had 6 hours to let the clerk know before this particular meeting, and we had no one request to speak virtually during this public hearing. There being no other speakers, this public hearing is closed. What's the pleasure of the commission?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Sparkman and a second by Commissioner Mathis. Any discussion? See none, place your vote. Record the vote, please. And it's approved with a vote of 5-0. Madam Clerk, next item.
This is a quasi-judicial public hearing on a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Plant City, Florida, approving the plat of Turkey Creek Industrial Tracts, a subdivision of Section 2, Township 29 South, Range 21 East, Hillsborough County, Florida."
Ms. Sanchez, welcome back to the podium.
Thank you. Marlene Sanchez, Planner, Planning and Zoning Division, and I have been sworn in. This request is for a final plat for Turkey Creek Industrial Tracts, creating a 5-lot industrial subdivision located at the northwest corner of Turkey Creek Road and Reese Road, and the site is approximately 49 acres. This slide shows a layout of the plat. In August, the planning board found the final plat for Turkey Creek Industrial Tracts consistent with the technical requirements of Chapter 94, the subdivision regulations, Chapter 102, the zoning ordinance, the Imagine 2040 Plant City Comprehensive Plan, and Chapter 177, Part 1 of the Florida Statutes for Platting, and voted to forward the final plat to the City Commission with the recommendation of approval. The recommendation is that the City Commission adopt the resolution approving the Turkey Creek Industrial Tracts final plat. And that concludes my presentation.
Does the commission have any questions, Ms. Sanchez? I don't have to wait till my comments afterwards, so I will hold my comments afterwards, but City Manager, any comment?
No comments, sir.
Thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing. Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission at this time regarding item 8A on the agenda? Okay, this is a public hearing. Again, you were asked if you want to speak virtually during this meeting to contact the commission at least 6 hours prior to the meeting. Madam Clerk, did anyone contact your office?
No, not for this.
No request received? Okay. Being no further public comments or participation in this particular public hearing, this public hearing is closed. What's the pleasure of the commission?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve by Vice Mayor and seconded by Commissioner Mathis. Any discussion?
Yeah, just like a comment, the road improvements we're making on Turkey Creek between 574 West Reynolds Street over to Sydney will be well suited for the development of these 5 industrial tracts in that middle proximity of that expansion. And the timing is going on right now. The changes happening periodically but slowly, but they are happening on Turkey Creek Road.
I think, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
I think it's great to see, some of the smaller scale industrial too. We've been really excited about the Aces and the Home Depots of the world, but there's a lot of smaller, contractors and manufacturers and whatnot that, it's very difficult to find these 5 to 10 acre tracts. And so I think this is a real great complement for what we're doing in the other areas too.
I agree. I'm really excited about this because I dropped out of this piece of land for many, many, many years. And I'm always looking at it going, there's so much potential there. And so I can't wait to see what actually ends up being there, you know, and it was right across from your property there, Mr. Dodson. So you looked at it for a long time too. So
About 40 years.
as long as we vote yes tonight, I say that we can move this project, these properties forward. So no further comment, please place your vote. Record the vote, please. And it's approved with a vote of 5-0. So hopefully something happens soon, you know. Madam Clerk, next item.
This is a quasi judicial public hearing on an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Plant City, Florida, rezoning property located 1909 East Alsobrook Street from R-1A Single Family Dwelling District to C-1 General Commercial District.
Okay, and we have a presentation by Ms. Robin Baker.
Good evening, Commissioners. Robin Baker, Senior Planner for Planning and Zoning Department, and I have been sworn in. PB 2020-24 is a rezoning from the R1A Single Family Dwelling District to C1, which is our General Commercial Zoning District. The site is located at the southwest corner of East Alsobrook Street and South Park Road and is approximately 11.87 acres. I wanted to show you a little rundown of the future land use and zoning in the area around this property. Currently, the property has a commercial future land use category, and as you can see, to the south is industrial. To the north is R12, and to the east is mixed-use residential, commercial, industrial. That particular area there is what we know today as Lakeside Station, which is a large industrial development with options for commercial and residential as well. The zoning map on the right-hand side shows the site today is R1A, but there is a PD to the south that's approved for a large amount of industrial, as well as the PD to the east, with the same, in the C1A district directly to the north. On August 26, 2020, the Planning Board found the proposed rezoning consistent with Chapter 102 of the Plant City Code of Ordinances and the comprehensive plan, and voted 7-0 to forward the rezoning to the City Commission with a recommendation of approval. Staff recommends the City Commission adopt an ordinance approving the rezoning from R1A to C1. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioner, have any questions, Ms. Baker?
Yes.
You go ahead first.
Yes, we received a notice or a comment from a citizen, and the comments was about this being a truck stop. Could you expound on what exactly is going there?
Sure. So this is a standard rezoning request. So it's not typically, you know, site plan based or anything like that. In fact, they really don't even have to say exactly what they want to do. The approval today would allow any of the uses within the C1 category. Now, the applicant's representative did attend a development review committee meeting and did present a site plan that showed a gas station and a storage unit type business, a multi-story climate control. Could you bring the PowerPoint back up? And I've got that plan there for you to look at.
Thank you.
So that's what they're referencing.
Just for the record, the letter that Commissioner Mathis is speaking about came from Mrs. Smith. She lives at 802 South Jackson Street, and this was her concern.
Yes, thank you.
So as you can see from this graphic, the largest building that's centered in the site there is proposed to be a multi-story climate controlled self-storage type business. And then the smaller building up on the front there is proposed to be a gas station. Now in the rear of that building will be the type of gas pumps that would serve large trucks. Then with that, you know, other piece in the front there would be for the smaller vehicles. I'm assuming I would let the applicant speak to exactly what the plan may or may not be for the property, but that is what the citizen is referencing is this plan.
Okay, so behind that gas station, those, I guess the 4 black stripes there, that's where like a semi truck could come in to gas up, but it's not going to be where they would stay overnight like a truck stop, so to speak.
Again, I'd have to let the applicant answer to what they'll allow the trucks to do. The little area that's behind where they fill up, there's other black lines there.
Yes.
That is truck parking. But as you can see from the rest of the site, there's no other location on the site that would allow them to just have large places for the, so they provide that for the trucks to be able to stop and go inside, I'm assuming. But again, I'll let the applicant speak to what they actually propose on the site.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions, Ms. Baker?
My comments, Your Honor, of course, this has been my industry all my life, been involved in this. My understanding, this is a Circle K convenience store. And there's only 4 diesel pumps on the site. And diesel pumps can work for diesel cars, pickups, and not just all semis. And it doesn't appear that this site would be able to be the 30, 40, 50 acre truck stop like one on 301 or something of that magnitude. So I don't really see the concern in this versus the benefits to the community.
Mr. Baker, could you expand a little bit about, because about half the site is set aside, because there's a large buffer between the community and the commercial, with the existing wetland floodplain and the stormwater pond, and then the floodplain compensation pond. That's roughly about half the property, right?
Correct. There is an existing large wetland on site that they do not plan, according to this, they don't plan to impact that wetland at all. And in fact, they've located all of their stormwater drainage and retention to that side of the site as well. So that site won't be touched at all. It'll be just, retention and existing wetlands. So all of the development is going to be geared towards the intersection of Alsterbrook and Park.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Baker? Ms. Baker, thank you so much for that presentation. Madam Clerk, I believe we have an applicant, Peter Pensa. Mr. Pensa? You're live in here, and I believe you have a PowerPoint presentation.
Yes, it is.
Very good. Welcome this evening. I think we have a couple of questions, as you can tell, for you.
Got that. Good evening. For the record, my name is Peter Pensa. I'm an ICP certified planner with Avid Group. We're the land planners, civil engineers, and surveyors for the project. And I have been sworn in.
Thank you.
I do have a brief PowerPoint presentation. I'll go through that and basically answer your questions. The site, as Robin had presented in hers, has commercial future land use. The C1 zoning district is consistent with that future land use designation. The area around us is predominantly zoned for commercial and even industrial uses, as you can see on the zoning map in front of you, which is from the staff report. There's a combination of commercial and industrial uses, as well as a civic use of the church located within there as well. There's a gas station located on the northwest corner of the intersection already. There's vacant commercial property. This is edge west. Then there's Gospel Tabernacle Church. Then IDS, basically the contractor's office and warehouse, and Plant City Seafood. And then as you go west of there, it's either single family homes or vacant land that is all designated for commercial development as well. And to the south is Gordon Food Services Distribution Center. To the east of Park Road, that area is designated for a variety of mixed use uses, including office, commercial, and industrial uses. This is a signalized intersection. We had I represent both the property owner and the contract purchaser of the property. We've had 2 pre-application meetings with city staff. First one was with the property owners, kind of just a general investigation to determine what uses allowed there and what the processes would be as they were getting ready to put the property on the market. And then Max Development, who is as a contract to purchase the property, went in with a specific plan. If we go to the next slide in the presentation, this is the same plan that was put up earlier. We went in with this plan, met with staff. We also met with Hillsborough County Access Management, talked about access on Park and Alsterbrook, and we've met with Swiftmud regarding the stormwater and wetland requirements. As was noted earlier, The site is, we're basically setting aside 60% of the site is open space. That's a combination of almost 3 acres of wetland, pretty much in the middle of the property, and then wrapping it to the west and to the north will be a combination of stormwater and floodplain compensation area. The site is low. We'll be taking clean fill out of the those pond areas, using it to fill the development portion of the site over the city's floodplain regulations. The eastern 40% of the property is proposed as a gas station, convenience store. It will not be a truck stop. That's one of the things that we did talk with staff about pre-application meeting, and they confirmed that a truck stop is not a permitted use within the C1 zoning district. That would require a I forget the answer to that. It was either a special approval or industrial zoning. I can't remember which, but it's not something that be allowed by right under the C1 zoning. And then the building behind it is a 3-story under control storage facility, similar to the ones that you've probably seen built elsewhere. The way the gas station has the issue that I've met with next to Housing Authority to talk with her about it. She's here tonight as well. They own the property that's to the west of this site. It is not a truck stop. There will be no overnight parking of vehicles. The idea is that you would come in, first of all, for safety reasons, you want to separate regular petroleum products, unleaded premium gas for your automobile traffic. That's in your conventional setup in front of the store. To the rear would be fueling positions for high-speed diesel. If you're familiar with large diesel trucks, they typically will have tanks that can be filled from both sides. They can put the nozzles in, fill both sides at one time so that they can fill up faster and not have to pump one side and then go over pump the other side. We also provide for a few parking spaces so that they can go in, use the facilities, buy their coffee and sandwich, and go back on the road. Likewise, local business owners, landscape contractors, such as that, recreational users for towing a camper or boat need a place to park for larger vehicles. They would have to park in those spaces while they go and use the convenience store before getting back on the road. They will not allow any overnight parking vehicles within the property. The climate control storage works just like any other. There's secured access where you can park in your space, go in, either drop off or pick up your items, and then leave from the facility. Trip duration is very low, obviously, for a storage facility, convenience store. Trip duration is typical of that of any other convenience store. Regarding access management, we did meet with Hillsborough County and Parks and Park Road. They asked us to move the access as far south as possible. As you can see, we've got it down at the south property line. The access that comes into the convenience store originally had proposed for that to be aligned with the front drive aisle between the convenience store and the gas pumps. As you would frequently see, however, because of spacing with the intersection, they asked us to move that to the west, make that light in and light out only. So you would not be able to come in from the intersection and enter at that driveway in order to avoid any of that traffic backing up in that spot. As you go further east, and as you go further west on the property at the western, when you get to the wetland, we'll have a access opening that aligns with Wilkins Avenue. The counties are required for us to make a new traffic study to determine the exact design, but we will be required to provide an off turn lane in order to queue traffic that's coming into the site so that it does not back up any traffic on the road as well. Likewise, the improvements required at the intersection for eastbound traffic approaching the intersection. And then, I mentioned earlier, the parking lot will also require a turn lane shown on the plan. One of the questions came up, the planning board updated the graphic to reflect this. As you see, the westernmost portion of the storage facility would be almost 800 feet. It's close to 797 feet, plus or minus, to the front of the duplex buildings. You can see on the far west side of the plan, 835 feet to the vast majority of the side of the storage facility, a little over 1,000 feet to the diesel canopy and 1,100 feet to the store itself. Again, we have 7 acres, 60% of the site will be open space, providing a buffer. Noise is one of the things that I talked with Ms. Dexter about. And there won't be truck stops, there won't be long idling of vehicles. I understand that's an issue that they've had with the gas station to the north, because I guess they leased that out for overnight parking. This will not have that. Plus, the combination of the wetlands and pond area plus 3-story storage building will provide for sound attenuation for the development as well. Likewise, with lighting, will comply with the city's lighting ordinance. The gas station obviously has concern for lighting and will not be excessive lighting, but they do want to make sure it's a safe environment. The storage facility would have very minimal lighting at night because its operations are during the daytime. And with that, I can answer any other questions you may have.
Does you have any questions, Mr. Pensa?
I'd like to make a comment. First of all, thank you for the clarification about the truck stop. Do you mind putting that back up again? I appreciate that. And just the entrances, I see you have one on the south end, that's a right in, right out.
Correct.
And then the one, I guess, closer to the stop side, that's a right in, right out. But the one further Wilkins Avenue, so they'll be able to come in and then go out and turn either to the right or to the left.
Correct. The full opening, there would be, if you're coming left and turning into the project, then there's a turn lane for you to wait in. If you're exiting out and going to the west, there is an opening in the median for you to make that turn.
Okay. But thank you so much for the clarification about the truck stop. I appreciate it. Thank you. That's my comment, sir.
Another question, Mr. Penza? You're making some dramatic improvements also to the turn lanes and so forth.
Yes.
Okay. This is a county road.
Correct.
So you're having to work with the county on those improvements.
Correct. We've met with them already, and we'll have to submit a traffic study and our plans to them for review and right-of-way permitting.
Okay.
But I do have one other slide just to point out real quick. I don't really need to get into it, but this is a street view looking up along either Morgan Street or Maryland Ave, depending on which way you look at it. It's labeled on maps as
walking north.
The property currently is fenced in. The Housing Authority had asked us to provide for a fence around the property in order to make sure that it's safe for their residents. Stormwater ponds and floodplain mitigation area will comply with flood requirements. When you have less than a 4-to-1 slope, it's not required to have a fence. What we've proposed and talked to staff about is I would like to leave that chain link fence along the western and northern boundaries. And then when it gets developed, run it down the east side of the wetland as well in order to proactively address the concern. So I just wanted to point that out. In addition, talking to staff, they also noted that we have the buffer requirement along those 2 street frontages. And so we've got to do our detailed stormwater design. We've only done preliminary at this point. But assuming that it's feasible based on grades, we would try to preserve the perimeters as natural buffers. There are a number of trees that are laid out property line. If we can preserve those areas, it'll preserve a number of trees. Plus, it would also provide for a natural visual buffer, which would help as well. So I just didn't want to forget that since I didn't bring that up.
Comments? Okay. Any questions? Any other questions, Mr. Penza? Mr. Penza, thank you very much. Okay. This is a public hearing. If the public wanted to speak virtually, you're advised to ask the clerk 6 hours prior to the meeting. Madam Clerk, did anyone contact your office to speak during this public hearing?
I had a Mr. Bruce Sperry that had requested to speak, but I don't see him on the line. Mr. Sperry, are you on the line?
I am on the line. You just unmuted me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Sperry, good evening.
Thank you.
If you would state that you've been sworn in for the record and your name and address, please.
Okay, I will say I have been sworn in and I'm at 1607 South Alexander Street in Plant City. And I'm here speaking on behalf of my client who owns property at 1908 East Alsobrook, that's mid-Florida Land and Development. Hello?
Yes, please, please proceed.
Okay. Okay. With the presentation is the concern that we have is the current zoning is either C on Alsobrook is C1A or R2. This is going to be straight C1. There's in the recent zoning, it's always been planned development or PUD, planned unit development or PUD. And we believe, especially since what was presented is a concept, let's not have any misconceptions that once one gets the rezoning, one can do whatever one wants to do in that specific zoning. When we're dealing with Alsobrook, we have 4 bays for semi-trucks and you have an access in and out of Alsobrook. We don't know what improvements are going to be there, but it seems to me that a development of this size and this magnitude with this traffic, and we're only being presented against concept, and we are aware that there are concerns regarding the amount of traffic, trucks, and what is the full extent and how intense the utilization of the property is going to be. It seems as though all the concerns that were raised are best handled through a planned development where you, the commission, decide what can and cannot be done on that property within the zoning and then to approve everything. So it will be our position that the C1 zoning should not be approved here today, but that the applicant should present a planned development of what he's doing, not just a concept, so that specifically what is in the concept, if that is the final use of the property, but whatever's presented should be approved specifically so that there are no alterations. Whatever traffic concerns you have will be addressed, and everything will be addressed, including whether or not trucks can stay overnight, whether there'll be any parking. And we believe that that's more appropriate for such a large project that's being presented. So we would ask that the board, the commission deny the zoning and have it sent back and recommend that a planned development be presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sperry. Okay. This is a public hearing. Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission at this time regarding item 8B on the agenda? Please come forward. Name and address.
Yes, sir.
You've been sworn in.
Yes, sir. I've been sworn in. I'm Pat Dexter, 1306 Larrick Lane, Executive Director for the Plant City Housing Authority.
Good to see you this evening.
Thank you, sir. I have concerns, and Mr. Sperry has just really done such a great job, because I do not believe that it should be a C1. I mean, I know all of the acronyms because I'm a housing professional, but I do know that from my window, I already see the traffic backed up there on East Alsobrook every day because of the buses to and from school. That's a busy road right there. Now it's getting heavy traffic for some reason. The people are having quite a difficult time getting in and out of the driveways there on East Alsobrook and also on Maryland Avenue. I not only work in this area, I live here. It is my community. I drive it. And for some reason, we're adding traffic to an already problematic light. For some reason, there's an accident monthly at that intersection. East Alsobrook and Park Road. I've had an accident there myself. We don't know what the problem is, but it's a problem. And there's an accident there monthly. As we service our 225 children right now, we're talking about 138 residents that this will impact. We're talking about impacting from East Alsobrook all the way to 92. Because if they back up trying to get fuel, they're going to back up there on Park Road. And then on the other side of 92, we're talking from Calhoun, Cherry, all the way down to the last road, Spencer, will be impacted negatively because of the great demand that these fuel trucks might bring in. I was so impressed because my fear is that we will become the loves for a TA. Because once we let this happen, there's a potential for our foot traffic already that's increasing our growth as we embrace the future. We've got traffic coming in. We've got our commercial traffic now that's coming in. And then we have our local traffic that are coming in, our pedestrians. So our schools are right there in Marshall. We've got Vernon and we've got Lincoln. And the buses travel East Alsabrook, Maryland Avenue, and Park Road daily. I'm looking at the increase and the influence, and I'm greatly concerned about the situation that may happen and may occur in our city. Mr. Pensko was not able to have the traffic analysis today with him, but I know that I don't need a traffic analysis because I live and I work right there every day. And it's already getting to be problematic right there on that stretch of East Austin. We're afraid of that. Where it's coming in, the traffic is coming in off of Wilkinson. That's a residential district. And we are residential. We can flip a switch and make it commercial, but it doesn't make it so. It's residential. And as far as, I have a question. The night when the truck driver is out of town, he can't move that truck. Is that right, Mrs. Barton? He can't when he's out of town. When he's ran out of town, he's gone, it's limited. He can't move that truck. If it's right there, he's got to stay right there. And his company will incur the penalty. They'll incur it because he can't move by law. He's going to stay right there in the overflow of the truck stop.
I think you were referring to log books, aren't you?
No, sir, not logbooks, because I have 42 years of experience with my husband who drives 18 wheelers. And when he's out of town and he's gone, he's got to stay right there until his time is, he can drive again.
That's what you're really
Yes,
talking about.
yes.
You log
So
the
therefore,
time that you have on the road, you're limited to a certain amount of time you can spend on the road before you have to go to bed and sleep.
Yes,
and go back
correct.
to work.
And if it happens to be there at our fueling station, then that's what it's going to have to be. So therefore, I just wanted you guys to know that our way of life is going to change on the east end of town for everybody, on this side of 92 and on the other side of 92 as well.
Ms. Dexter, I appreciate it. We gave 3 minutes and I gave you, out of respect, a lot more time than that.
Thank you. I
Okay,
appreciate
we appreciate all the work you do in our
Thank you.
community. We love you very much.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Okay. This is a public hearing. Would anyone else like to address the commission at this time? Please come forward.
I was not sworn in, so I hereby swear myself in.
I'll need to
Let's
swear you
go
in.
ahead and we'll do it.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Marlene Bascom Ward, 504 East Baker Street, Grant City,
And I have been sworn in.
and I have been sworn in.
Thank you.
I agree with Mr. Sperry concerning the nature of changing from an R1A, which is our most restrictive zoning, to a C1. Because again, once a C1 is there, you can do anything within that. You can change proposed plans. My concern is for the housing units that we manage and that we have been managing the city of Plant City. I have been with it for years. I sat on planning and zoning for Plant City. I was vice chairman of planning and zoning for Hillsborough County. Very quickly, I agree with Mr. Sperry. If we're going to do anything, it should be in the planned unit development. And I'm concerned for the safety of our school children, light pollution, noise, and no one mentioned crime. We could have an increase of crime, and we already have Maryland Avenue that has a crime factor that is in front of some of our units. Again, buses come down Maryland Avenue, they stop in front of our units, let the children off. And we're looking at putting 18 wheelers on Alsabrook Street because we all know they do not use the truck stop. The truck route that goes around. They will take that short. And two of the ingress and egress areas for this project are off of Alsabrook Street. Actually, the one they call the main road comes 700 feet from the housing unit, the last housing unit we had, 700 feet. Then the land use road comes in, goes around that building and circles back into the truck stop or the service station or the fueling station. So I'm just wondering if we run out of C1 land in Plant City to use, that we have to change R1A to C1. The project probably would be all right if it ingress and egress off of part, but for it to ingress and egress twice off of Alsabrook Street, which is a 2-lane street, just doesn't make good sense. Thank you for considering not proposing this project tonight.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Would anyone else like to address the commission this time? But as quasi-judicial, you do have 3 minutes for rebuttal. Yes.
Just actually want to make sure no one else, yes.
You're fine. I haven't closed the public hearing yet. Again, as an applicant during a quasi-judicial, you're allowed your first presentation, then rebuttal once we're finished with other speakers. So go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to offer in rebuttal some clarification. The only difference in permitted uses between C1 and C1A is warehouse use. The gas station is a permitted use within the C1A. There's an existing gas station on C1A zoning on the northwest corner of this intersection already. The reason why we asked for C1 is strictly in order to be able to allow the self-storage facilities. But there is, other than that, there's no other differences in permitted uses. So it's not like it's it opens Pandora's box and allows a variety of other uses that are being contemplated. I just wanted to add that clarification. As we don't need to bring it up unless you want me to, but the plan that I showed earlier, as you saw, there's circulation both from the southeast corner coming into the site, significant distance to get back to fuel pumps. Likewise, if you're coming from the intersection, turning into the site from Alsabrook, it's on the middle of the western side of the development, there's a significant several hundred feet of distance running along the backside, along the wetland, and then down along the south side to the fuel pumps. So backing up traffic would not be a concern. There's no, the business should be so lucky to have much traffic that would back up into the road. It's not going to happen. It's just there. You wouldn't see that kind of queuing distance on any other kind of gas station. It's a unique situation with this property and the way it's configured with all the wetlands that there's so much opportunity for that kind of queuing on it. So I just wanted to know that those are concerns that are going to present themselves with this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Would staff like a rebuttal? Ms. Baker?
I would just like to state for the record and for the citizens here that we're concerned about transportation and asking for a planned development as opposed to a standard rezoning. The next step in this process would be the site plan review process. When the developer comes in and gets ready to build, they will have to go through a site plan review process. And as part of that, they have to file a concurrency application. And in that concurrency application, they have to run the numbers of the trips. And if the trips over 500 trips per day, then they would have to perform a transportation study through our process at that time. And obviously these are county roads, so they would have to go through the county for approvals for any of the improvements that are required by the traffic study. But that is part of our process, just not at this stage. So just wanted to say that.
It's Park Road and Alsabrook, both are county roads.
They are. And I'd also like to state, the future land use on this property is commercial now. And a good part of the reason for that is because Alsabrook now is considered a collector street. Park Road is an arterial. And so our comprehensive plan encourages these types of, not this particular type of use, but neighborhoods serving commercial type uses at these what we call nodes. And that's the intersections of either arterials to arterials, collectors to collectors, collectors to arterials, you know, that kind of thing. And in this particular kind of situation, even if this was a residential future land use with the residential 12 in the neighborhood, they would still be considered for that locational criteria because this is one of our bigger nodes that we want to see these commercial type uses at these intersections. So that's why that commercial designation is there instead of a residential designation.
Any questions, Ms. Baker? Yes, please. Vice Mayor.
Ms. Baker, if you could just confirm the applicant's assertion that the only difference between the C1 and the C1A is the warehouse use.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I want to ask a question. On the site plan, I'm sorry, that Mrs. Sperry showed, my concern, and I'm thinking, because I drive that quite a bit, is the two entrances or on Alsabrook. Okay, now once you go through the site plan, is it the potential that that could be changed, or why do you have to have like a right, how was it, right in, right out, but then you have the one from Wilkins, and they're very close to one another. I mean, I can see that being but that will come with the site plan. Am I correct?
It would, but the driveway access points are not something that's going to be approved by the city. It could be approved by Hillsborough County.
That part would be.
Correct. And they do have certain spacing requirements for those types of driveways. Number one, from that main intersection, and then those driveways from one another also. They would have to be whatever that distance requirement is by the county. And I think that this graphic is a little deceptive. They may look like they're really close together, but if you even look at the measurements that he's showing from this house to the building, you know, it's almost 800 feet. So it's several hundred feet between the two access points there. So this graphic may be a little deceptive, but they would have to meet the requirements of Hillsborough County. And generally that is something that's done at the same time as they're going through that site plan review process.
No, I know that area quite well, but that one where you off of Alsabrook, right in, right out, that is almost right across from that BP station on the corner. Okay, so you will have one there, and then you're going to have one several hundred feet down on Wilkins. That really is not that much of a difference. I mean, because I drive that way. That to me is a concern, a real concern. And then another concern that I have, even at that BP station, and this might be something we need to look into, there are trucks that stay there overnight and whatever, and we don't want the same thing to happen there. So that's a very concern. But you're saying if we, just to make sure, if we voted for this, then this would have to go back to the county, but they may not really understand our concerns, my concern that I'm having right there on Alsabrook. Tell me that process, so I make sure.
I mean, it is correct. And like I said, it's the only regulations that are going to govern those two access points is what the basic, you know, what the minimum distance requirements are between accesses. Because again, this is a county maintained roadway. They'll be the ones to decide where they want the access points. I mean, they may decide they don't want the access across from the BP access, but generally, those are the types of things that they look for. They want to line the access across the road from one another, you know. Now that's not a full access, so that may not be the case there, but that would be up to Hillsborough County.
But if I'm at that BP station and I want to come across the street, I just come right across.
You cannot, not there. That is a right in, right out. So more than likely, they'll have some type of traffic calming device there, whether it's a little pork chop or something that forces the traffic to go either right.
Okay.
And then they can do a right out and a right in. So the folks coming east on Alsabrook can turn right in, or they can turn right out to go to the light, but that's it. So you could not go directly across the street there. The only place you could do that is at the Wilkins exit. That would be they're proposed to be a full access there.
Okay.
What I've always hated about conceptual plans, they're conceptual.
All right.
You know what I mean? I've always hated that. And until the traffic studies are done and everything else is complete, you can't have a complete, idea of what this is going to look like. But they still have to go through all those studies and those public hearings before they can get everything, completed and voted upon. So every time you look at a conceptual plan, it's just, and so it is, it's conceptual until we get, but the nice thing about it is that what we're talking about is the use, So when I look at this piece of land, it's like, what uses would I like to have on this particular property? But I want residential, okay? Nothing, well, it's not fair to the landowner to have nothing. So then, this is obviously a corner that typically most corners, some type of commercial use goes there, okay? What I personally like about the storage capacity was that's a very light traffic use. I mean, there's very little, I know the numbers when you look at them, I'm on top of my head, but it's like one of the lowest uses you can put on a commercial piece of property is storage units, So a large portion of this property would be used for a very low end traffic use. Am I accurate with that, or am I?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay. But then obviously gas stations are a lot more higher use, and this is obviously not a truck stop, not like the ones you'd have on an interstate, but it is a gas station that's allowing diesel fueling on it. So, but when those studies are done, that tell us how many trucks, how much traffic, and that's the decision that we make whenever the site plan is done.
Correct.
Okay.
You raised the question I was going to, you raised the notion of the question that I wanted to ask, and that is, you mentioned that there's going to be a site plan. It's generated at a certain time, it's triggered because of the site plan. But then you mentioned that it was 1,000 trips per day that caused the requirement for a traffic study.
It's 500 trips, and it's total all day long, 500 trips.
Well, you hear numbers hard to, what's relative to 500? Is that Mr. Spartan, Commissioner Spartan would probably be able to clear this up for me. What does 500 trips per day look like in a neighborhood where this commercial use would be applied? Is that a heavy use, or is that generally considered like a normal application? Across the street.
I don't know what the generation for the gas station is off the top of my head, but I would say, like your typical single family house generates 10 trips a day. So a 50 lot subdivision would trip a traffic study. In a PD situation, it's even less trips per day, but so these uses generate more trips per day than you think they do. And I wish I had that number in front of me, but I don't know what that exact calculation is, but it is something that they'll have to provide as part of the site plan review process. Sounds like they've already done a transportation study.
But if they hit that threshold of 500 trips per day, then they're forced to have a traffic study.
Right, they would have to do another traffic study through the city the way that we do things, yeah.
Okay. That'd be independent of the site plan.
During the site plan review process.
During that time, so we can go and see.
Oh, man.
Somebody watching the hockey game?
That's Bruce.
Okay. David, everyone's muted, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
That's unusual.
Hopefully that
That was not the Stars that scored a goal. Okay. From your chair, Mr. Penza, do you know at this time, do this trip's the 500 or not, this particular project?
I don't know the specific number, but I can tell you that it is not. The number of counties are told us that we have to do the traffic study.
You already been told about it, so a traffic study is going to be forced to be done then. Okay, so we know that's for sure then.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions, Ms. Baker? Okay. Thank you. We've heard from our public virtually. We've heard from our public live in the room, and we've now had the rebuttal from both our applicant and our staff. This public hearing is closed. what is the pleasure of the commission?
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve by Vice Mayor Nate Kilton and been seconded by Commissioner Bill Dodson. Any discussion?
Yeah,
I think this deserves a lot of discussion, yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot already, obviously, but I think it's important that we know what the results of that the traffic study is going to be. And we now know that they're going to require it, Hillsborough County is going to require it of the applicant. And that will be within Plant City's jurisdiction of reconsideration on the site plan as well as the traffic study. So this is not over. Rezoning would be over tonight. But we'd still have a chance to review the site plan. Well, the staff would, that would only be a staff function, right? Yeah, that would only be a staff function.
Go either way. So if I look at this particular property, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, you have a comment?
No, I'll yield to you.
Well, look at this property. You know, the question is that, you know, you're trying to do something that's best in our community, but you also have a landowner that has a right to, you know, use it for the highest and best use. Okay, that's their right as well. But they also want to make sure that that use, you know, blends in with our community well. Okay, if you go to any corner, you're going to most likely see some type of a commercial use there. Okay, look across the street. That landowner had the right to put a potential gas station that's there now. You know, I always assumed, you know, with the zoning of that particular property, one day there would be some type of a gas station there. I think the question here is because we're not really, don't seem like there's a lot of angst on the storage facility. I love the storage facility piece of it because I think that's a big need in our community. The ones that we currently have, and you talk to the owners, they're full. Okay, I know personally, there's been several more properties purchased, and they're going to be proposing putting other storage facilities in Plant City. So there's a big need for that. So I think that's a great location because it's a low traffic block. Okay, for a commercial use to put something on it that creates the least amount of traffic, there's very few things you can ask for that's better than a storage unit. Okay, and I also like that because it's a multi-floor storage unit, so it takes up a lot less space. So then it comes down to the gas station, and then the only angst we have here, I think, is the semi-truck use. Okay, and that's going to be alleviated with however the site plan works out with the traffic study. But tonight, you know, that's not a part of the decision we're making here tonight. The decision we're making here tonight is, you know, the zoning of what can be this land be used for. At another date and time, that decision be made on whether that property meets the criteria for the traffic counts as well as the truck stop uses and so forth. So, you know, we want to make sure that when that's designed and whatever's built, whether it's because if it's not if we don't do it tonight, it's going to be developed into something. Or that's not going to sit there and let the property sit there and be green forever. Something's going there, you know. So you know, I support this simply because I think when you look at that property, we're putting, you know, we're serving a need as well as we are putting a lower use of traffic count on it. And it would be no higher than if someone just put in there just a gas station on the current zoning that they have. They could do that right now if they wanted to. They just wouldn't be able to put that storage unit in the back. So really the only decision we're deciding tonight, do we want to have a storage center in the back on the west side of that property or not? That's how I look at it. If I'm wrong, please tell me. But that's really the decision we're making here tonight. Vice Mayor.
No, I think that's a good point. And really, when you're talking about the surrounding commercial uses, whether it's C1A or C1, we've been told that the only difference between the two would be that potential warehouse use. So I don't feel compelled to ask the applicant to go to a PD for this. I think that the major concerns that I understood from those that spoke were the traffic and the potential noise issues. And so the traffic study we know is going to happen, and that's going to be a major component in determining the ingress and egress on the property. We've got a significant buffer for the residential component with basically half of the property, providing for, open space, and then a 3-story building to provide buffer for noise. And we also have other tools, noise ordinances and whatnot, that could be used if somebody tries to park there overnight and idle is a problem. So I think, given the context of everything and the comments from staff about the designations of collector and arterial roads, I think probably leave it to the experts on the traffic use to determine the impact there. But I would suspect that the majority of the traffic would be in and off of Park Road. So I'm going to support this evening.
Any other comments? Mr. Mathis?
The comment I want to make is, I agree with everything you said, but definitely concerned about the traffic. But now that we know that there will be a traffic study, and once it comes back to us, then there could be other decisions that we could make. So because of that, and we know there's going to be a traffic study, I will support this as well.
Well, I think staff has a crystal clear method on the concern we have and what our intentions are and what we have a desire for this property to look like with the traffic uses.
Yes.
Okay, and clearly communicated tonight. Any other communication? Seeing none, please place your vote. Record the vote, please. Let's approve with a vote of 5-0. Okay, Madam Clerk, next item.
This is quasi judicial public hearing on a resolution entitled an ordinance of the City of Plant City, Florida, approving and adopting the conceptual modification of general site development plan for Eastland Industrial Plan Development District.
Okay, and we have another presentation by Robin Baker. Ms. Baker, good to see you again back at the podium.
Thank you. Robin Baker, Senior Planner with Planning and Zoning, and I have been sworn in. PD 2020-20 is a conceptual modification to the Eastland Industrial PD. The site is located on the east and west sides of Charlie Taylor Road, south of South Frontage Road, and north of US Highway 92 East. Has a future land use designation of industrial and natural preservation, and the site is located within the I-4 Tech Corridor overlay, or at least the majority of the site is. And the existing zoning, as we said, is the Eastland Industrial Plan Development. The applicant is requesting 2 modifications to the PD, both to the notes that are on the PD that govern the development of the site. And the first conceptual modification is to modify the architectural requirements. The applicant is proposing alternative architectural standards that are specific to industrial development. Those changes were provided in the staff report and the agenda report for you. They're kind of lengthy to read into the record, but ultimately what they are doing is making those architectural standards that are required in the building specific to industrial. Currently, the site is required to adhere to the city's large-scale big box standards. Now, those standards were created for the large commercial retail projects, which have a number of visitors consistently and continually to encourage a pedestrian-oriented development. And to take that a step further, these regulations that were kind of adopted in many places for the big box, they required all these projections and recesses in the building. And when you look at the building from above, as you can see from the graphic provided for you, the one that's labeled principal building, that building kind of takes on the look of a house. So those large scale big box buildings like your Walmarts and those types of buildings, they're no longer just a big, huge piece of concrete. It's something that has some character that can kind of mesh with the residential neighborhood that it may reside in. But as we all know, industrial buildings have come a long way even in the last 20 years, and the standards on these buildings are even quite beautiful at times, and they've come up with their own ways to address the breakup of the facade, and so that's what the applicant is proposing. Now, the graphic that's provided here for you, just under the principal building graphic, is an actual elevation submitted by the applicant during site plan review of what those new standards can convert to. That's what it would look like. The second modification is a modification to the landscape requirements. Currently, The PD is required, any portion of the property that's next to an existing residential home has to provide a 4-foot berm that's elevated over 150 feet. I'm not sure why on the computer every time that graphic falls off. I had a graphic there showing what a berm could look like. But instead they're asking in certain areas to provide an alternate option. They're not eliminating the requirement for the berm, but they're asking for an alternate option to provide a 6-foot opaque fence with trees and landscaping on the outside of the fence where it would be facing the residential homes. And on the graph right here, it kind of shows why they were asking that. There are 2 homes that are located on the, I guess this is the east side of the property. And the applicant has centered a lot of their ponds along the edges to kind of create that natural boundary for those residents. And so in a couple of places, because of the location of the ponds, they're not able to do that berm per se, but they still want to do something there to protect the residents, so they've proposed that opaque fence. On August 26, 2020, the planning board found the proposed conceptual modification consistent with Chapter 102 of the Plant City Code of Ordinances and the Imagine 2040 Plant City Comprehensive Plan, and voted 7-0 to forward the modification to the City Commission with a recommendation of approval. And staff recommends the City Commission adopt an ordinance approving the conceptual modification to the Eastland Industrial Plan Development District. I'm here if you have any questions.
Any questions, Ms. Baker?
So the fences would just be in those 2 locations? They would be restricted to those locations only?
The requirement is anytime it's adjacent to residential. So there.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I mean just in replacement of the berm, they can only go in those 2 spots, or can they go anywhere as an alternative to the berm?
By adding an additional as an option, they could go anywhere.
Seems to me that the conceptual modifications identified by the developer and their intentions to do that is an improvement on what would be otherwise with what we do with industrial limitations. This is far better. And as you said, there's been a great deal of improvements made in how projects of this scale are made to look very pleasant. And especially true when you go up down County Line Road with all the new developments we've had there. It's a good example of it. I'm quite satisfied this is an improvement over where we were before with it.
Any other questions, Ms. Baker?
Your Honor, I didn't quite understand what type of fence you were alluding to and saying what the fence would be made of, material.
There's no particular requirement for the material. It just has to be opaque, meaning you can't see through it. So I don't believe there's any type of requirement for the exact type of material. You just can't be able to see through it.
The only thing I would be concerned about is it'd be like maybe some of our residential subdivisions here now have wooden fences in the backyard. They decay and they get colorations and they replace part and another part of it. So it would seem to be something that should be more permanent.
You mean like a wall type?
Yeah, a wall or.
Let's see the way that we worded that, if they have an option for that. And the applicant can speak to exactly, what they do plan to do. I'm sure they have an idea at this point.
Would you like first let the applicant speak on it, then only you can look at that and come back in the rebuttal?
Yes, I would love that.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time we have Ms. Corbett. She's a representative for the applicant.
Good evening. Cami Corbett, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite 3700, with the law firm of Hill Ward Henderson, and I have been sworn. I'm here this evening representing the Sedler Companies, who are the company that is the company that is developing the property. I know Mr. Sedler is available by phone. I'd like him to weigh in either to me directly or via phone to council's question with respect to the type of fencing. They're pretty far along in their plans. I think he'll probably be able to answer that question to you as to what they're planning for that. I do.
Mr. Sedler, I believe you're online. Is that correct?
Mr. Seller, we'll need you to unmute yourself.
I'm here.
Okay, great.
How's it going?
Mr. Sedler, the question that we had, like Mr. Sparkman, was about the berm and the fence, the material of the fence that you're using on this particular property.
Yes, no, I understand. I heard the conversation. My understanding was there was a couple options in the language. I don't have the language in front of me. One was a metal fence with slats or a wooden fence. And also, my understanding is that we agreed to put landscaping on the inside of the fence facing the residential homes as well as an additional buffer. So that's where we're at now. And I'm pretty sure Will Hawkinsmith, our engineer, is on, and he might have the exact language on the fence.
Do we have any other for Eastland that's virtual would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Bill Hawkinsmith, Florida Engineering Group.
Okay.
I'm the engineer for the project. If you go back to the site plan, there's a very limited area where we're putting a retention pond facing Wiggins Road. Can you go back to the site plan, Robin?
There. I'm not. Tell me where to stop. Right there.
Okay, between parcels 015, looks like 60, and 0100, we have a retention pond in there. There's also a wetland, an upland cut that goes through there that connects part of the property to Wiggins Road and continues discharging across Wiggins Road. To try to put a 4-foot high berm in that area just takes up a lot of real estate to go up 4 feet and then back down. So that's why we're requesting to put in, a wall. I mean, a fence with landscaping on the outside in that area. We're meeting the berm requirements, every place else on the site. So it's primarily just in that one little section.
Bill, the question was what type of materials are used in the opaque fencing? That's the question that the commissioner had.
I'm not sure if that's been decided yet. We're just left it as opaque. So whether, it's chain link with slats or some other material, we haven't designed it yet. We were just trying to get a fence approved.
Okay. Any other questions?
And I think the point he was trying to make is that it's only in a couple of places on the site plan.
It's not around
It's directly abutting residential.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to run its cost up, because I didn't anticipate that being that bad. Just don't want something that 5 years is gonna be decaying. So, raised fence with slats would be fine. So it'd be much more permanent, maintained by the developer.
And I don't have a separate presentation. We're just here to answer any additional questions you might have.
Okay, any questions for the applicant other than the ones we already asked? Okay, Mr. Sutler, would you have any closing comments?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, this is a public hearing, and the notice of this public hearing, we're advised to contact the clerk at least 6 hours prior to participate in this public hearing. Madam Clerk, did anyone contact your office to participate virtually in this public hearing?
No, I have received no request.
So you have no request. Thank you. This is a public hearing. Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission at this time regarding item 8C on the agenda? Well, Ms. Finley, please come up here. And whoa.
Since my hearing.
No. 1 second. Madam Clerk, would you please, give the oath to Ms. Finley?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And now I need you to give your name and address and say.
Finley, 3410 West Trapnell Road, Plant City.
And I have been sworn in.
Excuse me?
And say I've been sworn in.
I've been sworn in.
Thank you, Ms. Finley.
And I wasn't planning on saying anything at all.
We're so glad you
And
did.
since I don't hear hardly any of what you say, and I've got hearing aids in, but I still don't hear it. And the only guy I could hear was people that were speaking on the virtual. That was terrific.
But I'm hearing some talk about berms, and I have a lot of experience with that because where I live, I'm impacted by Waldo Lake on two sides and by other homes on the other side. And of course, the land was built up and with the septic tanks, the drain fields, all that, and the berm on the lake side broke back on the side. I will lake the river if I get a lot of rain, okay? There's a river driving down my road, and I complained to the county back when Waldo Lake was being built, and I realized this, and I got a drainage ditch stuck on my property, but I never thought to have it maintained by somebody else in perpetuity. That was my mistake. So now I have to pay money to either weed whack it or weed it or whatever. But anyway, be that as it may, I think these people, if they are residential people and they're going to be impacted by burns, I think you need to look at it very closely because I think that's, and I've been told by some other planners, I won't mention who, but that of course my property was developed long before better things were put in place, okay? And now I suffer for it because I have, and there's a whole bunch of other problems that I won't go into, but it's the berms that are causing, the water won't flow where it's supposed to go because it's gonna stay on my property until it finally rolls down my driveway down into the drainage ditch or wherever. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Ms. Finley, since you built your home, the planning and designing and building has improved a lot. So so a lot of the issues you're dealing with don't exist today in development, but we sure hope that, you know, that you get all your issues resolved one day, okay? But thanks for participating tonight, okay? Thank you, Ms. Finley. Anyone else like to speak to the commission this time? You want to rebuttal? Okay, applicant's allowed to rebuttal, yes.
Cami Corbett again for the record. Just real quickly, I think, again, this represents an improvement. We're removing the requirement to have the berm, and so we can have the fencing. I think you all see that, saw that. I did also want to take 30 seconds to thank your staff and your EDC. They've been both fantastic on this entire project, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Baker, did you want to rebuttal for staff? No? Okay. This public hearing is closed. Question closed to the commission?
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please place your vote. Record the vote, please. And it's approved with a vote of 5-0. Madam Clerk, last item.
Other resolutions and ordinances. This is a resolution setting a public hearing on an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Plant City, Florida, amending ordinance number 15-2018, granting extension of the commencement date and expiration date of exemption from certain ad valorem taxation for New Cycle Energy Tampa LLC, formerly Materials Life Cycle Management Company of Tampa LLC, providing for several buildings, providing for an effective date. I also have a resolution titled, a resolution setting a public hearing on proposed enactment of an ordinance by the City Commission of the City, Plant City, Florida, in accordance with section 166.041, Florida statutes and other applicable law. This resolution sets the public hearing for the proposed enactment of ordinance for our next City Commission meeting to be held on October 12, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. here in the City Commission chambers of the Nettie Berry John Municipal Building.
What is the pleasure of the commission?
I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to set a public hearing for our next commission meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please place your vote. Record the vote, please. With a 5-0 vote, that public hearing is set for our next meeting. I would like to meeting that tonight is our, the next meeting will not be a virtual meeting. It will be a live meeting. So if you want to participate in that public hearing, you must be present to participate in that public hearing. Again, great evening, long evening, but a lot of results. I think we have a great plan for a great year, Mr. City Manager and staff. Thanks for all your work. Thanks for participating. This meeting is adjourned. By the way, if you'd like to know, the Bolts are winning 2-0 and there's just a few minutes left. This meeting is adjourned.